Hey friends, welcome back to Dramatically Expatic. So, keeping up with the topic of the last few days, I'm continuing to share my best expat tips and reflections on my life in Italy, my experience here. And as promised in my last video, today I want to talk about renting a flat in Italy, which can be an adventure or misadventure based on how you look at it. Anyway, I want to talk about my best tips, my experience of finding a flat here, renting it, and also the best tips how to not get into the common traps here when you're renting a place. And most importantly, how to not lose your sanity while looking for an apartment in Italy, because this is a thing. If you want, guys, you can also check out my old video where I talked about the horror story of looking for an apartment here in Florence. By the way, I live in Florence. If you're new here, guys, my name is Valeria. I'm an expat in Italy of almost 10 years now. I spent 9 years living in Bologna and then moved to Florence 5 months ago. So yeah, that was an adjustment finding a new flat here. It was super stressful, but I did it and I want to share my experience with you. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you're new here, like this video, and make sure to follow me on Instagram for more life updates and tips and just, daily life in Italy. Now, as I said, renting a place in Italy can be a tricky thing because most landlords will want you to have an indefinite term work contract with an Italian employer. And sometimes some of them will not even want to talk to you if they learn that you do not have one. Trust me, guys. If you have one, if you're moving here for work, and you have this indefinite term contract, lucky you. Things are gonna be way easier for you guys. So this video is still for you for other tips, but at least with that, you're covered. But if you don't have this type of contract, keep watching because I have some tips for you as someone who moved 4 places in 10 years, and that is without counting all the Airbnbs in the middle. First of all, have all of your documents ready. There is no such thing as too many documents to show proof of your income to your Italian landlord, especially if you work abroad and you work remotely and you have an employer abroad or a business activity, especially with the business activity. Pay slips, bank statements, tax returns, all these kind of things. Have them ready because your landlord may ask for them. In my current apartment, my landlord first asked me for the pay slips from my international employer, and that was after I provided my work contract. And then he also asked for my tax return forms and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I had to provide lots of documents before I got the employment here in Florence. And yeah, guys, it can be complicated. One thing you may try if your work documentation to prove your income is not enough for your Italian landlord is offering them to pay a higher security deposit. The security deposit in Italy is usually anything from 1 month to 3 months worth of rent. And actually it depends on whether you can even try the thing, because some landlords will be okay with 1 month's security deposit, they will ask for that, and then you may try to offer them to pay 3 months of security deposit as kind of proof of your income, and just for their security, for their peace of mind, more like. But some other landlords will immediately ask for 3 months deposit, and in that case it will not work, of course. But keep in mind, guys, and this is really important, that if you are ever asked for more than 3 months worth of rent as a security deposit, run, because this is illegal in Italy. Nobody can ask you to pay more than 3 months of security deposit. Another thing that you may try, which of course is heavier financially, is to pay your year worth rent in advance. It depends on your financial situation, guys. It has worked once in my case when I first came to Italy, and I didn't have any proof of income because I was a student and it was super difficult to find an apartment and all these kind of things. And paying a year worth of rent worked back then. Attention though, this is not a security deposit. You pay your rent in advance for the whole year, and then you live there for a year knowing that your rent has already been covered. The security deposit is another thing. Your landlord may ask for it and it will be a separate thing from your rent. So it's not like you pay a year worth rent and then you keep paying every month for your rent, guys. This is very, very shady. I know that some places in Italy will ask you for that, but don't fall for it. It's a really, really bad thing to do, and it will then return to you one way or another. Anyway, I know that this is a drastic measure, and it also depends on your rent, your monthly rent, whether you can afford paying it all in one installment. When I did it, it was almost 10 years ago. The rent was cheaper because now the rent prices have increased like crazy. And yeah, it was doable back then. I wouldn't repeat it again, but yeah, it can be an option for some of you. Now, speaking of the rent contracts, rent agreements, there are different types of those in Italy. So make sure you know what you're getting yourself into when signing your lease, when signing your rent agreement. The most common types are the so-called 4+4 or 3+2, and you will often see those on the ads, when you look for different apartments on the internet. These type of contracts are the classic long-term contracts, and it means that for 4 years, like in the first case, it will be the contract for 4 years and renewable for another 4 years. And in the second case, it will be the contract for 3 years and renewable for 2 more years if you want to. In this case, guys, you don't have to worry about your rent rising. You don't have to worry about your landlord changing his mind and, kicking you out because they want to sell the apartment, because they want to stop renting it out or whatever. And this is a good type of contract if you're planning to stay long term. And of course, it's the best option if you're happy with the place that you found. Alternatively, if you're staying for short term or need to find something temporary before you find something permanent and you need more time, a good option can be a contratto transitorio. This type of contract is like the transitional contract and can be anything from 1 month, I think, and up to 18 months, although it's very common to have them for 6, 12, or 18 months, as I said. And under this contract, guys, you will be able to stay there regularly for the duration of the contract. And attention, it can only be renewed once and for a maximum of another 18 months. So it's not like a very long-term contract. It's not like you can renew it to no end. It has its limits. And also it's not automatic, because in the other type of contract, the renewal goes automatically. If you're happy with your place, your landlord is happy with you, you don't have to do anything. In the case of this contract, you will have to renew it and pay for it again. And yeah, it can be an option if you're planning to stay short term, or if you need to find an apartment, but you don't want to stay in Airbnbs and jumping between them. Trust someone who spent a month and a half jumping between Airbnbs and have changed 8 Airbnbs in 6 weeks. This is not sustainable, and sometimes it may take you from 1 month to up to 3 months to find a permanent apartment. And maybe in this case, you can consider contratto transitorio if you find a nice place that will cost, affordably and anything. This might be a better option, but also, yeah, sometimes it's a good option if you just need to stay for up to 18 months, because this way, with this type of contract, many landlords will be more relaxed about your work and a proof of income. Another thing to watch out for when signing a rental contract is the notice period. Well, some landlords will be quite chill and be okay if you notify them 3 months in advance should you decide to leave early. Other landlords will want you to notify them at least 6 months in advance if you're planning to leave before the end of the contract. So in this case, guys, double check it, keep an eye on the notice period so you do not breach this clause and run into potential sanctions. Now, guys, I know that finding a place to rent in Italy might sound nerve-wracking, and it is. It is quite stressful, but I also feel like it may be just as stressful in any other country, especially for foreigners, especially if you don't have the indefinite work contract here in Italy, if you're freelance or if you work for an international company located abroad, but it is doable. Once again, I just want to say that it's really important to fix some more or less stable temporary solution. Then you can start looking even through friends or acquaintances once you start making those, because I feel like sometimes it actually works better. However, guys, if you stick to the websites and to internet ads, make sure that you look through the websites that have some history and reputation, like Immobiliare, for example, or Idealista. These are quite good, and these usually don't have any weird sketchy ads, although they may have some. So discern and make sure that you contact the landlord, you ask for documentation, you go and see the apartment first before jumping to any contracts or anything. This is super important. Just be on guard. Going to the real estate agent may work, may be helpful, but I personally have never found them particularly helpful. I don't know why, but I have this feeling that most real estate agents in Italy focus more on selling the properties than on renting them out. And for me, I had multiple times when I called a real estate agency or even walked in and they told me that they have nothing or pretty much nothing to show me among rentals, because it would be either something that does not fit my search criteria, or they do not have anything, they only have properties for sale. So I feel like it depends. Maybe you're gonna be luckier than me and find a good real estate agent and then it will be easier. But yeah, I found all of my places online through the website that I mentioned, and I wouldn't say it was a bad experience. Actually, yeah, apart from all the stress of looking for apartments and viewing and convincing the landlords to let me in, other than that, it was pretty smooth once I got the okay from the landlord. And having said that, I hope this video was helpful. I think these are my best tips, that I could come up with when looking for an apartment. As I said, I know it's stressful, but it's doable, guys, and it will work out one way or another. Trust me, I've been through it multiple times, and often I felt like, there was no end to this apartment search. But then eventually I found my apartment and things got easier from there. So yeah, I really hope that these tips might be helpful for you. Once again, I remind you to subscribe if you're new here. If you're not subscribed yet, like, comment this video, share it with someone who might be moving to Italy soon and might need these tips as well. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram for daily updates and just lifestyle and all. And yes, thank you so much for being here. Please enjoy your day and best of luck if you're moving here.